So, Mark, I saw the meme that describes what you're going to eat every single day you're in Asia on your upcoming trip because we know you don't eat anything but five foods. This is perfect. A Pepperidge Farm fish and some rice.
Yeah, it's about a person saving up for Japan so they can eat some sushi in Japan, and they're like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do until I got the money, and I'm going to pretend it's real sushi. And I was like, hey, it does look kind of good. You can put different flavored fish on there, spice it up a bit. They got Pepperidge Farm Red Hot now. That with rice, man. There we go, hot sauce and rice.
The big news of the last couple of weeks has been the Alaska Hawaiian merger. It's approved and it went through so quickly. You're just waiting for these things to happen and then they get approved and then it just seemingly happens overnight. We talked on the last show about transfers and you kind of speculated that people should hold off and, they can transfer as needed because American Express was a de facto transfer partner of Alaska now. And boy, that didn't last very long.
Yeah, it was like all over the place. We thought we'd have some time. And then as soon as it went live, people were trying to transfer from membership rewards to Hawaiian, and it was getting automatically canceled and refunded. So we're like, oh crap, they're blocking them. And then in the morning, they started to work for people, so they could transfer one to the other. But then we noticed there's terms on the Hawaiian site that says like you can't transfer in and then transfer to another program. So they have it like in place to block these at some point. I don't know how long they're going to let them go. It's been wonky ever since. Like anybody that has a 2-letter last name couldn't transfer for days because there was an error and a glitch. And we were all impressed that they got this together in like 2 weeks, but maybe they should have taken 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's interesting. They must have had it kind of ready to go, but clearly not fully tested. Thankfully, I was able to transfer my 450,000 Hawaiian miles over to Alaska. That's what I had done during the 20% transfer bonus. So in your face, Mark. It's funny, somebody, after we had our conversation last week, somebody asked me, they're like, maybe I should transfer more, in case this goes away. And I was like, it'll be around for a while, kind of what we discussed. And then an hour later, it kind of broke that the error messages were happening on American Express site. So I told him to disregard my expert advice from earlier. But yeah, this is interesting, but I'm super happy with that. My strategy worked out. I'm surprised that they wouldn't have left this open, but contracts getting taken over different companies. I don't think this was purposeful. It just all happened so fast.
Yeah, I think it was just a glitch that they had on the back end or whatever, but it gives me pause that they have those terms in there. So I don't know how long they'll let this go. I would imagine it will go for a bit, like we first thought it was going to happen, but I'm more nervous about it than I was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So if you are considering doing a transfer, I might just put it in, maybe not the full boat of what you would want to do, but at least get something over there for a future booking if you did want to use Alaska miles. I still wouldn't transfer if you've never used Alaska miles before. Don't know what you'd use them for. Even if everybody says they're a great deal, I wouldn't, force myself to transfer it. Don't fall into FOMO. There's nothing worse than having some useless, points sitting in a thing that you could have had its membership rewards. I'm saying hello to my 5,000 JetBlue points I earned from Amazon way back in the day that I'll never use probably.
I've been burning off my 400,000 JetBlue points for, I don't know, for years. For people who don't know, JetBlue used to pay like 3 points per dollar on Amazon purchases for a brief period of time. I think you can still earn that if you buy while you're on the JetBlue plane, if you go to Amazon.com. But back then on all your purchases, and I was doing a lot of reselling, so I earned about 400,000 and I've been sort of burning them off. But I think you make a great point. FOMO in this hobby happens. There is groupthink a lot of the time. So when somebody's doing something, you'll hear a lot of your friends doing it or people get excited about it and you can get caught up in it. And just remind yourself what your goals are. Maybe it's good for you, maybe it's not, but you don't have to do it just because everybody else is. And I promise if you don't do it, your life won't be over.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways to book things. And Alaska could devalue it. I mean, the laws in there say they can't devalue for a time being, but I'm guaranteeing like the next year, 18 months, it's going to come down. It's going to come down heavy. So if you don't have any plans to use it within that time period, I wouldn't stress about it because they're probably going to be worth less than that, once you get around to using them.
One of the sadder things we've noticed over the last few years is hotels trying to wiggle their way out of elite benefits or kind of honoring a program as it's meant to be. But this isn't really the case here. This Hyatt place in St. Augustine, Gary Leff wrote about this customer who went in there, didn't have a car with them, but they were charged a $25 mandatory parking fee nonetheless. So they're charging every single room this, sort of like a resort fee, I guess. Pushed back. The property said everybody has to pay it. Of course, corporate came in and they changed their tune pretty quickly. But yeah, these properties, man, this place should be boycott this hotel. Like, don't ever give them any business, even if they do change their policy.
Yeah, we've seen them try these games with like if you pay with a credit card, you have to pay a fee, but we don't take anything other than, credit or debit. And all these hotels have credit cards, so they definitely don't want a fee charge because they make a lot of money selling their points to the banks. So like we see these type of games or they like to love to play these games with breakfast or saying that, oh, we don't own that restaurant, so we can't provide free breakfast. Here's a coffee and a stale bagel or whatever, and it's annoying. And this is what we've talked about in previous episodes and what we've seen over the years as they decouple themselves from actually managing properties, the hotel brands, they lose a bit of control. And individual owners and stuff like that are going to try to squeeze out every dollar they can. And they're going to do shady stuff like this until they get caught. And that's kind of the shame where airlines, yes, they become basically just a mileage selling factory. That's where their goal is or their profit, but they still own the planes, they still manage the planes, they still run the routes, all that. So they still have total control. So it's actually better than what we're seeing with hotels.
Yeah, and it's like the management says, "Oh, this wasn't our policy, so we've now talked to the front desk to do it right." How many thousands of dollars did you take in erroneous parking fees because of this policy? You should be going back trying to figure out who didn't have a car and refunding it. This is just predatory at all levels. And most people, they just go along with it. You check into a hotel, you expect that they're charging you the right price. I don't, this is as bad a story as I've seen because it's sneaky on like the littlest level. It's not like
Yeah.
crazy overboard, but it's just sneaky enough that they got away with it.
Yeah, I could see them like, putting it on there and then somebody come up and be like, "Hey, I didn't have a car. Oh, okay, let me take it off." Like that still be bad, but this is so much worse that they fight it and say, "No, you have to pay it." And it's a Hyatt place. Like, I would guess 85, 90% of Hyatt places don't have a parking charge. I know St. Augustine's a bit busier, but I would imagine, most of the other hotels don't charge. I think when I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express there, I didn't get charged for parking, so it's like a double whammy there too.
So let's move on to some credit card news. The Chase Aeroplan card has a new offer, kind of similar to one that's been around, but a little bit different. 100,000 bonus points. That's 75,000 after 4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. Then you can get another 25,000 if you spend 20,000 overall in the first year. And this is slightly better than the previous offer, right?
Yeah, there was an offer that you could find on the internet, but it was only 70,000 after 4K in spend. Then you get 30 after doing the 20K. So if you're not going for the full $20,000 in spend, this is a bit better. It's also now the public offer, so it's on affiliate links if you want to support a website, or or it should be in referrals. Hopefully, if it's not there already, hopefully it comes. Although we've seen sometimes that they don't match up, but that would be the expectation. So you can get a little bit better offer through that too, if you already have the card and your significant other or friend or whatever refer them.
And if you're not a big spender, just look at the smaller spend part and determine if that makes sense for you. And if you're a bigger spender, it's not like the biggest bonus to get that 25,000 points after 20,000 in spend. But with some of the bonus categories on this card, it could certainly make sense to do that as well. So this is an interesting sort of tiered bonus. But like you said, it's now publicly available. You don't got to try to find a special link. So now might be the time. Now, it's not often that we have to do an obituary for a credit card, Mark, especially one that's so prevalent and widespread. And that's the Amex Everyday cards. And they launched in 2014. I remember when they launched, which is crazy. I've been doing this a long time. And they were one of the first cards to have that sort of do so many transactions a month and get increased rewards, a good grocery earning card, and earn membership rewards. You even had an option to earn membership rewards on the no annual fee card. So many cool things here, and it's all gone.
Yeah, I think this was like the OG to increased earning. I mean, back then, 2014, we saw 2x on dining and travel was a big deal with the Sapphire Preferred. That, everybody got excited about that. And then they came out with this where you could earn 4.5 times at grocery or 3 times on gas, which was unheard of, and the Premier came out a bit later, I believe, and that was 3 times. So it got, kind of got caught up too, but I still say 4.5 is the best in grocery out there for the most part. You see some 6% cards, but I think most people would think 4.5 points are worth more than that. So it's still up there. The cap was at 6,000, which was kind of a deterrent, not the biggest card, but I always recommended this if you wanted a one card family. If you just wanted one card to spend everything, if you do the 30 transactions, 1.5 on everything, 3 on on gas and 4.5 on grocery. That hits like the big spending areas for most people, and you're still earning above 2% for the most part on all your other purchases. So it's kind of surprising that it went away, but also it was a kind of a pain in the butt.
I do wonder. I mean, usually when we lose a product, we get some sort of a replacement in the same realm. So, do you think we're going to get a new family of products from American Express that tackles this sort of everyday spending membership rewards card that's not, some fancy premium crazy thing? They do have a cashback version that's very similar, but, membership rewards are important too. So, I have to think they might be retooling here.
Maybe they come out with something, and the Cash Magnet was another one that was killed off with this, which came out much later, and it was a 1.5% back card, which never made sense. Like by then, there was 2% cards everywhere. You even had the Blue Business Plus, which is a 2 times membership on everything up to 50K and spend a year. So I would love to see them come up with something like a 2X everywhere card, or like a Freedom type or rotating category type card that earns membership rewards, something like that. They've been missing it a bit. I know the Amex Gold took a little bit of this away, when they came out with their 4X grocery, 4X restaurants, which happened several years after this launch. So maybe they're leaning into that more. But this was only $95, more accessible to a bigger group of people versus the 350 you see now with the Amex Gold.
And staying on credit cards, let's talk the 5% categories. We are now in the fourth quarter, the funnest time of year for those who like to shop, generate spend, stuff like that. And we have an interesting set of rotating categories. On the Freedom card, you can spend up to $1,500 in the quarter and earn 5% cash back, or 5X ultimate rewards if you have a premium Chase credit card. The categories are PayPal, McDonald's, pet shops, and select charities. So I guess PayPal is my strategy there.
Yeah, I think PayPal will be the biggest one for most people. I'm kind of surprised. Usually Amazon's thrown in there in the fourth quarter, but if you check out through PayPal or even use PayPal on your phone, like CVS takes PayPal but via phone, a couple other retailers, I think maybe Walmart does, but definitely that's what I would look into, because the rest of it, I mean, unless you have dogs, like our friend Matt has like 4,700 dogs, so maybe he'll just spend it at PetSmart. But other than that, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's a strange set of categories. McDonald's on there too, probably weaker than it's been in years. Discover does have Amazon.com for $1,500 in spend, which is great, or also Target. So lots of choices for your holiday shopping with your Discover card. And then for the two people that still have a Citi dividend card, restaurants are good for that, and Citi travel. And the way that one works is your entire cap, the 6,000, is for the year. So you could choose which quarters you make your spend in. So you could spend it all in one quarter and then none in other quarters. So, I mean, I'm a little disappointed here with the Freedom, I'll have to say.
Yeah, I wish the dividend was still around. I mean, I think that's a great setup that you can do it all at once if you wanted to, like if it's a good category for you. And I like that setup a bit better. Yeah, this is the worst quarter I can remember across the board for all cards. And there's just really nothing that's great. I mean, Amazon is cool, but you get 5% with your Amazon card, or you can get Amazon gift cards at 4X or 5X pretty much any day of the week. And if you have a Target Red card, you're getting 5% already anyway. So it just doesn't really, there's nothing. Like we needed a little bit something more here.
Now, let's move on to promotions. Hyatt has a new fall promotion. It's terrible. I don't even think we should talk about it, but what happened to Hyatt and their great promotions? But you can earn 2X points, up to 20,000 points with your second qualifying stay at 320 participating hotels in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia Pacific. So just very specific. You don't get this wide scoping promotion.
Yeah, what happened? Wasn't this usually the time of year that we'd get the credit card members get 2,500 points or whatever it was for every night, and that was a great one. And they did it every year for several years, and then they just killed it off. I feel like it's been 2-3 years since we've seen that one, and they're just coming out with these very niche cash only type of promos, and it's just not anywhere close to where it's been before. I mean, this is worse than Hilton that just does double points everywhere all the time for every promo.
Yeah, Hyatt, let's get some double points. I'd take that at this point compared to what you've been doing lately. Yeah, no credit card rebate. That was one of the greater things. We've had different versions of it over the years, but points rebates on credit cards, different promotions for the people who hold the credit card. Give us some love, Hyatt. But yeah. We'll see, maybe next year. You wrote an article this week about the Hilton Aspire Credit. Specifically, it has a $400 resort credit for Hilton resorts, and that's $200 for each half of the year. And they've revised the list of resorts that count, and you put together a resource basically putting the list all in one place so people can look and say, is this resort qualified for this credit?
Yeah, Hilton, didn't used to have a list and then they released a list, but they just broke it down by brand. And it's kind of hard to like search through it unless you have a specific one that you want to go to. But let's say you're going to like Florida and you wanted, hey, I wonder if any of these will go. I wanted to break that down. So I did it, by region and then by country. And for the United States, where a majority of them are, or a big bulk of them, I broke it down by state and then also by property type so that you could, if you want to stay if you love Hamptons, there's like one, but if you love DoubleTrees, there's quite a few of those. Surprisingly, there's only like 8 or 9 Waldorfs on the list, which you would think every Waldorf would be on the list. So it's a bit different, unexpected, smaller list than maybe we had before. You definitely need to focus a bit more on using it.
Yeah, with the annual fee, you need to make sure you maximize this. Lots of options in Vegas, all over the place. Great list. Makes it easy to kind of see geographically where it's at. We also wanted to cover some recent Amex offers that we think are pretty good. There's the Marriott one, 140 statement credit after 350 in spend. There's also one for Hilton, $40 statement credit with $100 in spend. I think the Marriott one goes through November 23rd, the Hilton through the end of the year. Yeah, keep those in mind when you're planning your end of year travel.
Yeah, and even if you are, on a point stay, these do work towards room charges. So if you're going to a resort or whatever, and you want drinks by the pool, or you want to eat lunch there, or even if they have a good on-site restaurant, you can discount all that stuff. Or like if you're staying at a Hilton and if the breakfast credit doesn't cover everything, you can spill over into this. And I really like the Hilton $100. Should be easy for people to hit that stay at any type of resort, that isn't like a Hampton Inn or something along those lines.
A couple other ones to mention. There's a Google Pay Amex offer that gives you a $10 statement credit if you use your card to make 2 purchases. Those are super simple, those Google Pay transactions. So that could be really good. And then Lowe's, I guess, home improvement time. The weather's getting a little nicer, I guess, in some parts of the country. In other parts,
Yeah,
like where you are, it's turning
not
the other way. $100
like four
credit.
parts. 4 parts of the country, it's getting nicer, but that's what Sean said.
Yeah, so in Vegas, it's time to go do the home improvements, but they have a new offer with various levels of spend. Always nice to see that. And sometimes there is a gift card reselling play with Lowe's. I'm not sure what the market rates are right now with those, but always worth keeping an eye out on that as well.
Yeah, 2 good offers. The Google Pay, there's no minimum in charges, so you could just do, if you find something you can do for a buck or whatever, just do that and get your money.
And now for some cool S. And this is really cool. Everybody who watches us on YouTube and listens to us for any length of time knows that we love drone shows. And China is taking it to another level. A couple weeks ago, they did an 8,000 drone show, which was a world record. And then in Shenzhen this week, they did a 10,000 drone show. And this is like levels above anything we've seen, these 5 or 6 or 1,000 drones. I mean, when you add up 10,000 drones, you can spell out a lot. You can draw a lot up in the sky. Incredible.
Yeah, I don't know how much does it even cost to buy 10,000 drones. That's kind of nuts, and then to run them. I know it's all like computer programming. Once you get loaded up, they just kind of go do their thing. But this is like the coolest drones show I've ever seen. And Las Vegas locally posted it and said we need this in Vegas. And we've talked about how people hate fireworks and it's bad for animals and all that type of thing. And drones maybe are the future of that type of stuff. And this just goes to show like this would be just as cool as watching a fireworks show, as much as I love fireworks.
I went to Paris earlier this year to do the Main Street Electrical Parade in the Sky at Disneyland Paris, which sort of recreated the parade. And it was cool. But I think the drones were in the hundreds there and they need to reset themselves. So you get these scenes and it's limited, right? With this many drones, you're almost getting constant visuals and the scale of everything is incredible. It just kind of shows you where we're headed with this whole technology in the next few years. I mean, nighttime entertainment, fireworks, those types of shows are going to be forever changed as this technology gets cheaper and you can have 1,000 drones, 5,000 drones, 10,000 drones without it costing tens of millions of dollars. So price is going to come down. These are going to get cooler. And this is definitely some cool S.
Yeah, imagine like a city invests in these and can use them over and over again versus fireworks, a big outlay of cash, and you blow them up once and it's done. where this is a long-term investment. So this could be the future. I think it would make sense for it to be. I'd love to see like drones and fireworks work together. I think that'd be really cool. That's like the next step.
And let's hope that we never have a glitch or something where they all crash into each other and come down. That's the crazy thing to see
See?
how close together
Cool
they're
ass
flying.
always
Yeah,
turns
it goes
into dark ass.
It's a dark ass right there. But let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about, the Aeroplan offer, some of those Amex offers, this drone show, that stupid Hyatt charging for that parking fee. Oh my God, terrible. Let us know in the comments. We do a new show every Wednesday, but starting next week, Mark, we're adding another show too.
Yeah, we will we'll be having a long form show to add to the channel as well. So you'll get even more Sean and Mark.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that on the channel. The MTM podcast is sort of morphing and we're putting everything together. You can also listen to this podcast and the other show on the MTM travel feed. We'll have links for all of that going forward, but wanted to let you know more content coming on 20-minute travel beginning next week. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.